The quantum breach. The rain hammered against the reinforced glass dome of Quantum Horizon Laboratory as Dr. Elara Wright made her final calculations. Lightning cracked across the night sky, illuminating the sprawling research facility built into the side of Mount Rainier. The timing seemed almost poetic. Nature's own light show on the night humanity would forever change its understanding of reality. Quantum resonance stabilizers at 98%, called out Dr. Aiden Chen from his workstation, his fingers dancing across holographic controls. Dimensional sensors aligned and ready. Elara nodded, her dark eyes reflecting the blue glow of her monitors. At 38, she had already revolutionized quantum mechanics twice, but tonight's experiment dwarfed everything that had come before. Her theory, that reality was merely one vibration in an infinite chord of dimensions, had been ridiculed for years. Tonight would vindicate her or destroy her career completely. Core team status check, she commanded, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. Particle alignment nominal, reported Dr. Sofia Mendez, her lifelong friend, and the world's foremost expert on subatomic physics. Containment fields at maximum integrity, confirmed Dr. Marcus Okafor, the Nigerian genius whose theoretical work on energy barriers had made tonight possible. Quantum Eye Observer Systems online, said Professor James Riley, the oldest of their group, whose pioneering work in consciousness-based computing had earned him both a Nobel Prize and exile from traditional academic circles. Elara took a deep breath. Computer, initiate final countdown sequence for Project Avalon. The facility's quantum computer responded in its neutral voice. Countdown initiated. T-minus 60 seconds to resonance cascade. The room fell silent except for the soft hum of machinery and the distant rumble of thunder. Each of them knew the stakes. If successful, they would prove the existence of parallel dimensions, not as abstract theory, but as physical reality accessible to human technology. T-minus 30 seconds. Elara's mind flashed back to her childhood in rural Idaho, staring at the stars and telling her father she would touch them someday. He had laughed kindly and told her to dream bigger. She wondered what he would think of her reaching not for stars, but for other realities entirely. T-minus 10 seconds. The quantum resonance core, a sphere of specialized exotic materials suspended in a vacuum chamber at the center of the lab, began to pulse with inner light, ripples of blue-white energy cascading across its surface. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Initiating dimensional resonance. The sphere exploded with light, not outward but inward, as if collapsing into itself. The monitoring systems went wild, data streams flowing faster than human eyes could process. The room shuddered, not physically, but as if reality itself was vibrating. "We've got quantum entanglement across predicted dimensional barriers," shouted Sophia, her voice barely audible over the rising hum. "Energy signatures stabilizing," Marcus called out. "Containment is holding." In the center of the chamber, the air began to shimmer and fold like fabric. It wasn't a tear or a hole. It was as if space itself was being pleated, revealing glimpses of something beyond. "My God," whispered James. "The resonance patterns, they're organized, deliberate." Elara stepped closer to the phenomenon, ignoring safety protocols. The fold in reality pulsed in time with the quantum core, expanding with each cycle. Through it, she caught fleeting images, crystalline structures under an amber sky, beings of flowing light, landscapes that defied Euclidean geometry. "It's responding to our presence," she realized aloud. "The quantum observer effect is manifesting on a macro scale. We're not just viewing other dimensions, we're interacting with them." The fold suddenly expanded, rippling outward in a silent wave that passed through everything in the laboratory. For a breathless moment, Elara felt her consciousness stretch, as if parts of her mind were suddenly occupying multiple spaces simultaneously. When the wave passed, the fold had stabilized into a shimmering portal about 2 meters across, and through it stepped a figure. It was humanoid in the loosest sense, tall and slender with limbs that moved with liquid grace. Its skin seemed to shift between translucent crystal and flowing mercury, and where a face should be, there was only a swirling pattern of light that somehow conveyed expression. The being raised what might have been a hand and spoke directly into their minds. "You have called across the divide, and we have answered. After countless cycles, humanity has finally joined the confluence." Alarms blared throughout the facility as security protocols activated. Armed guards rushed into the laboratory, weapons trained on the visitor. "Stand down," Ilara shouted. "This is first contact. Do not threaten it." The being's light face pulsed with what Ilara somehow knew was amusement. "Your weapons cannot harm me, Dr. Ilara Wright. I exist across multiple dimensional planes simultaneously." Ilara felt a chill run down her spine. "You know my name. We have watched your species for millennia, waiting for you to discover the true nature of reality. I am what you might call an observer. My purpose is to welcome emerging civilizations into the confluence of realities." "Why now?" asked James, stepping forward cautiously. "Why respond to our experiment?" The observer's form rippled. "Your quantum resonance technology created a signature that echoed across dimensions, but you have achieved this breakthrough far earlier than anticipated. Most species require another 1,000 years of development before reaching dimensional awareness." Marcus approached the monitoring stations. "Dr. Wright, something's happening. The resonance effect. It's spreading beyond our containment." On the main screen, satellite imagery showed energy signatures identical to their quantum portal appearing at random locations around the globe. Some lasted only seconds, others seemed to be stabilizing. "Impossible," Ilara whispered. "The energy requirements would be—" "Your understanding is incomplete," the observer interjected. "Once the dimensional barriers are breached, they become increasingly permeable. Your experiment has created a cascading effect. Already, millions of your kind are experiencing dimensional bleed, their consciousness expanding beyond your native reality." As if to demonstrate, one of the security guards suddenly gasped and collapsed. When he looked up, his eyes swirled with the same light pattern as the observer's face. "I can see them," he whispered, voice filled with wonder and terror. "So many worlds, all layered together like pages in a book." The observer moved toward the guard with sudden interest. "Fascinating. Your species shows unusual dimensional resonance. This one's consciousness has already begun to harmonize with the confluence." Ilara's communication device chimed with an emergency broadcast. Reports were flooding in worldwide. People collapsing and awakening with strange abilities, claiming to see impossible things, objects phasing in and out of existence, and in some locations, creatures emerging from thin air. "What have we done?" Sophia whispered, watching the global chaos unfold on their monitors. "You have awakened," the observer stated simply. "But your awakening has also been felt by others. Not all beings in the confluence are welcoming of new arrivals." The portal behind the observer suddenly pulsed and darkened. The being's light face configured into what was unmistakably alarm. "They come," it projected with urgency. "The Voidwalkers have sensed your emergence. They feed on nascent dimensional awareness, consuming it before it can fully manifest." The laboratory's lights flickered as power fluctuations rippled through the facility. On their monitors, the scientists watched as the random portals appearing around the world began to change, their energy signatures darkening. "How do we stop this?" Ilara demanded. "We need to close the portals." The observer's form began to fragment, as if it was being pulled in multiple directions at once. "You cannot. The barriers have been weakened. Your only hope is to accelerate your dimensional awakening, evolve or be consumed." With those words, the observer dissolved into particles of light that scattered throughout the room, seeping into the scientists and guards like dust motes caught in sunlight. Ilara felt a burning sensation spread through her nervous system as knowledge not her own flooded her consciousness. She saw the confluence, countless realities existing in a delicate balance. She saw the Voidwalkers, entities that existed in the spaces between dimensions, feeding on emergent consciousness. And she saw Earth, a brilliant beacon suddenly blazing across the dimensional spectrum, drawing attention from beings beyond human comprehension. When the vision cleared, Ilara found herself on her knees, blood trickling from her nose. Around her, the others were similarly affected, each absorbing different aspects of the observer's dispersed consciousness. "We need to move quickly," she said, standing with newfound determination. The observer sacrificed itself to give us knowledge, to give us a fighting chance. Against what? Marcus asked, his eyes now containing geometric patterns that shifted as he spoke. "Against extinction," Ilara replied grimly. "Humanity just became the newest player in a multiversal conflict we never knew existed. And some very ancient predators are coming to devour us before we can learn to defend ourselves." As if responding to her words, the portal darkened completely, and through it emerged a writhing mass of shadow that seemed to absorb light itself. It had no definite shape, constantly flowing and reforming, but its presence brought an overwhelming sense of hunger and malevolence. A void walker had arrived. And across the world, thousands more portals were opening. Humanity's stand. 72 hours after the first breach, the world was unrecognizable. Martial law had been declared in 67 countries. Major cities had become battlegrounds between military forces and creatures that defy description. The death toll was approaching millions, yet humanity fought on with characteristic tenacity. Inside the reinforced bunker beneath the original Quantum Horizon facility, Dr. Ilara Wright watched the chaos on monitoring screens with eyes that no longer saw only 3 dimensions. The observer's fragmented consciousness had changed her, changed all of them who had been present for first contact. "The Void Walkers are adapting to our weapons," reported General Helena Vasquez, the stern military commander who had been dispatched to secure the facility. "Conventional ordnance was effective for the first 24 hours. Now they phase out of our reality before impact. Because they're learning our dimensional frequency," Ilara explained, manipulating a holographic model that represented multiversal energy patterns. "They're predatory entities that evolved to hunt across dimensional boundaries. Think of them as multiversal apex predators." Dr. Marcus Okafor entered the command center, his movements leaving phantom images in the air as his body occasionally slipped between dimensional states. The changes affected each of them differently. Sophia could now perceive probability fields around objects, while James could mentally connect with technology across dimensional barriers. "I finished analyzing the data from the observer's consciousness," Marcus announced. "There's something unique about human neurophysiology. Our brains naturally resonate across multiple dimensional frequencies. That's why we developed art, music, imagination, dreams. We've been unconsciously perceiving other realities all along. Which explains why the Void Walkers targeted us specifically," added Sophia as she joined them. "We're not just another emerging species. We're a threat. Our natural dimensional resonance could eventually rival theirs." Ilara nodded, pieces falling into place. The observer knew this. That's why it sacrificed itself, to accelerate our evolution before the Void Walkers could consume us. On the screens, they watched as another portal opened in downtown Tokyo. Japanese self-defense forces had established a perimeter, but their weapons proved useless against the writhing shadows that emerged. Then something unexpected happened. A young woman stepped forward, her body glowing with blue-white energy similar to their quantum core. When the Void Walkers surged toward her, she raised her hands, and the creatures recoiled, shrieking in frequencies that shattered glass for blocks. "She's manifesting," whispered Ilara. "Just like the security guard here, and thousands of others worldwide. Their consciousness is harmonizing with the confluence. But not fast enough," General Vasquez countered grimly. "For every human manifesting these abilities, thousands are being consumed. We're losing this war." James Riley had been silent, his aged fingers dancing across a specialized interface of his design. Now he looked up, his eyes gleaming with dimensional knowledge. Perhaps not, he said. I've been communicating with scattered pockets of the observer's consciousness around the world. It wasn't just destroyed. It dispersed itself deliberately, seeding its knowledge across our population. He brought up a global map showing thousands of glowing points. These are individuals who receive fragments of the observer. They're manifesting abilities faster than the general population. If we could somehow link them together, create a dimensional resonance network, we could accelerate the manifestation process globally. Ilara finished, excitement building. A chain reaction of dimensional awakening. And how exactly do you propose to link thousands of people across the planet? General Vasquez asked skeptically. Marcus smiled for the first time in days. We don't need to physically connect them. Quantum entanglement works across any distance, even across dimensions. We just need to create a resonance pattern that they can all tune into. A broadcast, Sophia realized. Using the quantum core to transmit a dimensional frequency that only humans can perceive and amplify. Ilara was already working at her station, modifying their original experiment parameters. We'll need to recalibrate the quantum core to match the exact frequency the observer used to communicate with us. Everyone who has been altered will naturally attune to it. And those who haven't been altered? Asked the general. Humans naturally dream in dimensional frequencies, James explained. It's why we have imagination, creativity, intuition. The broadcast will reach everyone, just at different intensities. Those already awakened will serve as amplifiers for those still dormant. As they worked through the night, reports continued to flood in of voidwalkers spreading across the globe. They moved with greater purpose now, targeting power grids, communication networks, and especially any sites showing unusual energy signatures. They were systematically attacking humanity's ability to coordinate a response. They know what we're planning, Ilara realized. They can sense the purpose in our actions. The facility shuddered as explosions rocked the mountain above them. The general's communication device crackled with urgent reports from perimeter security. They've found us, General Vasquez announced grimly. Multiple dimensional breaches on the surface. Our weapons are barely slowing them down. Ilara looked at her team, determination hardening her resolve. We need more time to calibrate the broadcast. Can you hold them off? The general chambered around in her sidearm. No promises, Doctor, but we'll buy you every second we can. She turned to leave, then paused. If this works, if humanity survives this, what happens next? What do we become? Ilara's eyes reflected swirling dimensional patterns as she considered the question. Something new. Something the multiverse has never seen before. As the general left to coordinate the defense, the scientists worked with frantic precision. The modified quantum core hummed with increasing power, its resonance patterns shifting to match the multidimensional signature they had extracted from the observer's consciousness. Above them, soldiers fought and died against an enemy they could barely comprehend. The voidwalkers poured through breaches in reality, absorbing bullets and energy weapons alike, growing stronger with each human consciousness they consumed. Broadcast calibration at 87%, Marcus reported. The facility shook again, dust raining from the ceiling. But the power grid is failing. We're losing stability. James placed his hands on the nearest computer terminal, his eyes closing in concentration. The system's energy readings suddenly stabilized. I'm rerouting power from parallel versions of this facility, he explained, his voice strained. Drawing energy across dimensional barriers. It won't last long. The door to the command center burst open as a security team rushed in, firing behind them at shadows that seemed to flow through solid matter. One by one, the soldiers were engulfed in darkness, their screams cutting off as their very essence was consumed. We need to broadcast now, shouted Sophia, sealing emergency bulkheads to buy them precious seconds. Not yet. Ilara insisted, making final adjustments. If the frequency is wrong, we could cut humanity off from the dimensional spectrum entirely. A voidwalker oozed through the sealed door, its amorphous form rippling with hungry anticipation. It surged toward them, only to be met by Marcus, who stepped forward with his hands outstretched. The Nigerian scientist's body flickered between dimensional states, temporarily holding the creature at bay. "I can't maintain this for long," he grunted, sweat beading on his forehead as he matched the Void Walker's dimensional phasing. "Whatever you're going to do, Ilara, do it now." "Calibration at 93%. Ilara reported, fingers flying across controls. "We need at least 95 for global coverage." The Void Walker pushed against Marcus's dimensional barrier, gradually overwhelming him. More of the shadow creatures seeped through the walls and ceiling, surrounding the scientists. 94%, called out Sophia, using her body to shield the broadcast controls. Almost there. James Riley, the oldest of them, stepped away from his station with calm determination. "I can buy you the time you need." Before anyone could stop him, he walked directly toward the nearest Void Walker, his consciousness blazing across dimensional planes. "James, no," Ilara cried out. The elderly scientist turned to her with a peaceful smile. "The observer showed me something the others didn't see. There's beauty in the confluence, Ilara. Beauty beyond imagining." He reached out and touched the writhing darkness. Instead of consuming him instantly, the Void Walker recoiled. James's consciousness expanded outward in a pulse of pure dimensional energy, temporarily driving back the creatures. 95%. Sophia shouted. "Broadcast initiated," Ilara announced, activating the quantum core. The facility filled with resonant energy, not as light or sound, but as pure dimensional frequency. The Void Walkers shrieked in harmonics that threatened to shatter reality itself as the broadcast expanded outward, spreading across the globe in milliseconds. Across the world, humans experienced the broadcast differently. Those already awakened by the observer's fragments felt their consciousness expand exponentially, suddenly able to perceive and manipulate dimensional energies. Ordinary people experienced it as an instant of profound connection, a moment of universal understanding that transcended language and culture. And the Void Walkers felt it as fire. In Tokyo, London, Lagos, Buenos Aires, everywhere the shadow creatures had spread, humans began to push back. Some fought with newly manifested dimensional abilities, tearing the predators apart with thoughts alone. Others joined in collective consciousness, their combined will creating barriers the Void Walkers couldn't penetrate. In the bunker beneath Mount Rainier, Ilara watched on surviving monitors as humanity awakened. The quantum broadcast had created a chain reaction, each awakened human becoming a node in a vast network of dimensional consciousness. "It's working," whispered Sophia, her eyes wide with wonder. Marcus collapsed, drained from his battle with the Void Walker, but smiling. "We did it." The shadow creatures surrounding them writhed in agony as the broadcast intensified. One by one, they began to disintegrate, unable to maintain their form in the face of humanity's collective dimensional resonance. In their final moments, the Void Walkers revealed their true nature, not malevolent gods but simply predators who had never encountered prey that could fight back on their level. As the last of the creatures dissolved, the facility grew quiet except for the hum of the quantum core. Ilara helped Marcus to his feet, while Sophia checked the global monitoring systems. "The Void Walkers are retreating worldwide," Sophia reported, incredulous. "Dimensional breaches are closing as humans instinctively learn to seal them." "And James?" asked Marcus, looking to where their colleague had fallen. Ilara shook her head sadly. "He sacrificed himself to give us those final seconds. He understood what we would become before any of us." The bulkhead door opened as General Vasquez returned with the few remaining soldiers. Her uniform was torn and bloodied, but her eyes now contained the same dimensional awareness as the scientists. "Report," she commanded, though her voice had lost some of its military rigidity. "Humanity won," Ilara said simply. "The broadcast worked better than we anticipated. The Void Walkers have been driven back, and the dimensional awakening is spreading exponentially." "So what happens now, Doctor?" the general asked, echoing her earlier question. Ilara turned to the quantum core, which continued to pulse with multidimensional energy. Through it, she could sense billions of human minds gradually awakening to their new reality, scared, confused, but adapting with remarkable speed. "Now we rebuild," she said, "and prepare." The observer gave its life to help us, but it also warned of other entities in the confluence. Some will be allies, others enemies. We need to understand our new place in the multiverse. Are we still human? One of the soldiers asked, staring at his hands which occasionally phased through solid matter. Ilara smiled. More human than ever. The observer didn't change what we are. It simply accelerated what we were always becoming. Humanity's greatest strength has always been our imagination, our ability to conceive of possibilities beyond our immediate reality. Now we can actually reach those possibilities. Through the quantum core, Ilara sensed something new stirring in the dimensional currents, awareness and interest from entities far more ancient and powerful than the observer or the Voidwalkers. Humanity's explosive awakening had sent ripples through the confluence, drawing attention from beings that had existed since the birth of the multiverse itself. "We should shut down the broadcast," suggested Sophia, noting the fluctuations in the quantum core. "We've achieved our goal." Ilara shook her head. "No, we leave it active. It's our beacon to the multiverse, our declaration that humanity has arrived on the cosmic stage." As if in response to her words, the quantum core pulsed with new energy patterns, complex, deliberate communications from across dimensional boundaries. Messages from countless civilizations that had traveled this path before, some offering guidance, others warnings, still others proposing alliances. "The confluence awaits," Ilara said, addressing not just those in the room, but humanity as a whole through the dimensional network they had created. "And we have much to learn." Across Earth, humans looked up at skies that would never again seem limited to a single reality. The day humanity opened the multiverse had changed everything. But in facing extinction, they had discovered their true potential as a species, not just as inhabitants of a single world, but as guardians of reality itself.